Okay, so today we've got this incredibly boring set where we're going to talk about perseverance.
Okay.
When do you think it's okay to persevere, and when do you think you should stop persevering?
All right. Well, we've talked about this before. 5 minutes ago. I'm the wrong person to ask that question because
Well, no, there's no
don't
wrong
know.
person to ask because I want to know what your experience with that is.
Okay.
Because by you saying that, you're saying that the way you do it is wrong.
I'm not sure that's not what I'm trying to say. Okay. I have trouble not persevering. I think when I die and you cut my heart open, persevere is going to be written somewhere in there because I find it hard to give up, even sometimes when I probably should. But I don't want. Actually, I take it back. I don't think it's wrong. I would rather live my life that way, to think that there are things that I can't do now or things that I don't know now but that I can find out. And I like persevering. I like having that as my challenge, whatever it might be. There are times in my life when I probably shouldn't have persevered that I did.
So I think the big disconnect for me is that I will persevere on something that I believe in that doesn't involve other people. But if persevering means that I have to rely on other people to join my cause, at some point, unless I think that cause is incredibly noble and incredibly important, then I have no desire to persevere in that anymore. So like the studio, for example, the persevering in that would require other people to get on board with the idea that we have to join the studio and to pay money to do the studio and stuff. But at some point I was like, I am tired of trying to get other people on board with my dream. I'd rather just do my thing. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think the difference for you and I in that is that our dream about it is different.
Yep.
Like my dream doesn't necessarily require that everybody else get on board.
Well,
It does.
It does. The
To
only
an
reason
extent.
it did to me was because it wasn't able to run, or I wasn't able to make money to
Yeah.
do anything else.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah. No,
like the vlog, for example. The vlog does not have to have a single doesn't have to have any viewers. In fact, like I'm able to do it now. It doesn't take away from the rest of my life, and I don't need money from it. So it's like completely a passion project that I can persevere in forever. So I guess there's no perseverance there either, though, because the goal has already been achieved.
Yeah, well, and for me, persevere almost implies or requires
Something trying to prevent you from
some
doing.
challenge or some impediment
true,
or
yeah.
something you have to strive for. Like I'm not sure that eventually I won't figure out the right formula for the studio so that it really does make enough money for me to do all the things I want to do and not have to rely on anyone else or any other income source. Obviously, right now that's not the case, but I look at the community that has grown out of Revel, and I'm very proud to be part of that. It gives me a great deal of satisfaction. It makes me think that's why I am. One of the reasons why I'm here is on the planet at this time is to bring people together in a way that's helpful and enjoyable and accepting. But it's not easy. And I think that's what persevere means to me, is that I like that challenge. If it were easy, if the studio were making money on its own, I might have gone, oh, well, okay, I can let that go on its own and I'll go off and do this and forget that I want to be dancing. I might have done that. If my real estate business had taken off, I'd never have done the studio in the first place.
That part's true, but you forgetting that you wanted to dance, I don't believe that.
Yeah,
It's
maybe not. But I might have felt like it didn't need my attention and other things did. Not that I would choose to do something else, but like even now, occasionally I will help a friend on a legal problem, or I will do something else that suddenly is taking all my time, but it's not how I want to spend my life. Mm-hmm. And the studio requires me to get back into it and pay attention. If it didn't, I might find other avenues, and because I know myself, I'm a helpful person. And I don't mind helping. I don't feel bad. I don't feel like I'm being taken advantage of. But I would have to try really hard to do things just for myself. And the studio is my way of helping other people and getting what I need. So that challenge for me has not gotten old yet. It's 7 years. It's still a challenge.
That is
but
7 years.
It is 7. It's over 7. It hasn't gotten old for me.
It got old for me.
I know it got old for you really fast. And not to say that there aren't days when I think, I should just stop this and go teach my gold ladies 3 days a week. And it's not even gold ladies anymore. It's gold ladies and men. We have multiple men in the group.
2?
3.
Oh, 3. Wow. 3. It's actually
3.
approaching a true plurality.
It is. And the classes are getting bigger. Like sometimes we have 25 people in that class. Like we're going to have to expand the room. I have to move the temporary walls for that class. That's amazing.
Oh, maybe what I was going to talk about was selfishness. Because I was about to say...
That's a good one.
I was about to say that in a lot of ways I feel like... It's weird because I'm selfish, but I consider myself a selfish person, but in a selfish in a selfish way. I'm not selfish in that I'm taking from other people. I'm just selfish that I'm do not take from me. The biggest one is when people take away from my time, and it's I don't know why, because I love helping people. Don't get me wrong, that I like helping people, but only on my schedule. So when people want me to help them with something and I'm doing something else, it just bothers me so much. And it's I don't know, that's probably not the greatest thing to have, but it is helpful in that it usually prevents me from getting sucked into things that are not worth my time or are actually somebody trying to take away from me.
Yeah.
But
I actually think that's a good skill, which a lot of us, including myself, could use some work on. Being able to set appropriate boundaries. That this is the life I'm building.
Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, so I think it is good to know when to say no, when to say yes, but under my terms, and then when to say I'm in. I'm all in. I'll do whatever you need.
Yeah, that's one thing that I had to start practicing and learning is that if somebody asks for help, instead of just getting annoyed and going to do it, just be I cannot help you right now. I'll be glad to help you at this time or whatever. Because then I'll be happy to do it. But if I say yes, this time, I always remember this. My buddy Sean in college, this is a little different. But my buddy Sean in college was Prison Break Season 2 was airing at the time. And I would watch it every week. It was an event. It's like Game of Thrones is now. And he called me 5 minutes before it started and was yo, can you pick me up? And I was where are you? And it was some boondocks in Bloomington, and I just had no idea where he was. And I was how did you not have a ride? I don't understand. And then so I go to pick him up, and the whole time I'm taking him home.
You're
I'm
mad.
complaining about it openly to him. I'm man, it's Prison Break was about to start. So it was the worst of both worlds. Well, I mean, I still got him home, but it was just I was complaining about it openly. But I could have said, yo, can you wait 15 minutes so I could at least watch the beginning of it or something,
You could have asked him to wait an hour.
I could have asked him to do anything, yeah. But it's funny because I think part of the reason why you just go ahead and accept the request, even though it's inconvenient to you, is because so many people will get mad at you if they ask you for, at least in my experience, which is ridiculous now that I think about it. They ask you for help and then they get mad at you if you say no. And it's it's a weird thing because I can understand when, if there's no reason for you saying no, then I can understand why somebody might get mad, but do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about, and I always find it really odd, it's the same thing. If someone asks me to do something and then they get mad if I say no, then my feeling is they should have just directed me to do it. They should have commanded
Oh,
me.
yeah,
Why
yeah.
bother asking me if I don't have a choice?
Yeah, that's true.
My problems has always been a little bit different. Is that even if they thought I had a choice, I didn't think I did.
Yeah.
I just assumed they'd be mad, or they'd be disappointed, or they'd think I was a terrible person, blah blah blah. So for most of my adult life, I have always said yes, way too often. Never, but once I tried it a time or two, I realized it's not that hard, and that most people have an alternate plan if you say no.
Yeah.
Like your instance with Sean, if you had said, "Oh man, I'm tied up, I can't come for an hour. Can you get somebody else, or I can come in an hour?" He would have done one of those two things.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would, and he wouldn't have been mad at you probably. He might have been.
He might have been. Like,
he might have been.
Because I think that's the thing, is that's why we do things for people. Because lots of people do. They just like people. Here's what that bothers me the most about friendships and stuff like that. Is when people hold grudges, but they still don't stop being friends with you. Like they do what I did in the car, basically. They're mad at you, and they openly let you know that they're mad.
But they still want to be around you.
Yeah, and it's like, yo, which is it, man? Like for me, it's like I get mad at people so. No, I get annoyed with people all the time.
I was gonna say, if you say so infrequently, I'm gonna smack you. You get annoyed all the time. I know what it. Let me say this for you. You tell me if it's true or not.
Okay, yeah.
As you've gotten older, now you get mad or annoyed really fast, and then you get over it.
Well, no, that was always kind of the case. It's just like, I mean, for some things, but like I'm never actually mad at somebody. You know, I'm just annoyed. And like this open expression of the annoyance is not helpful to anybody.
Nope.
But I don't really have a point for that.
Well, it would be good, in my opinion, if you could either express your annoyance and don't allow it to be created, or if you decide to do something, then just go in, all in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now stop that, moaning and groaning, because it's really not helpful for anybody.
Yeah. I think the thing is, it's like, it doesn't matter who it is. If I spend enough time around you, I will start being annoyed by you. And especially if it's like I'm in captivity. For me, like this, so I've been traveling a lot this year. And like this is something I've always kind of known, but like I really solidified it this year, which is that when I'm out of control for too long, and not like out of control like I'm doing crazy things, out of control in the sense that I'm not the master of my own life. I can't go where I want, do what I want, when I want, and have nobody comment on what I'm doing. I start to get really frustrated. And it's like, it's not even like if I'm doing something not fun. Like when we were in China, the whole time it was great fun, but it was 2.5 weeks of having an itinerary already planned for you. And I had no say of what I did, when I did it. I mean, we could tell them we didn't want to do it, and they would say, okay, no problem. But it's not like I could just go like sit on the computer for 2 hours and like look stuff up and like, oh, I'm gonna go outside and like run, or I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna get a burrito, that type of thing. I need that sense of freedom so badly, like, or I go crazy. And it's like, it's weird, because even if I'm doing something I like doing, if I feel like I'm captive to that, then I hate it.
Yeah.
And not even hate it, but like it just feels like it's trapping me.
Yeah, I don't know if all human beings are like that, but I know that I am like that as well. Like, I don't remember if you remember Beyond Your Best. Did you ever do the third part?
No.
Okay, I did. And part of the third part was the marketing of the program
For
itself.
example, this is, or for clarification, this is a like leadership seminar where you go and then they teach you how to be a good person, basically.
Yeah, teach how to think for yourself.
It's like a Tony Robbins thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Okay, but there are various levels. I loved the first one, talked to all my friends and family. You went on it because of it. My brother went on it, lots of people. And the second one liked it even better. The third one of the requirements is that you do what I had been doing all along, and that is go out and get people to join. And I fought it so hard because I was like, I don't want you to make me do that. I'm doing it already because I believe in what you're doing.
Yeah.
But when you start telling me that I have to, then I feel a little cultish, a little, you know, taken advantage of. But I feel that way about anything that I do, that I volunteer.
Yeah.
When someone makes me do something that I want to volunteer to do, then I don't like it anymore. I don't like someone else telling me what I need to do.
Yeah.
I don't mind being the boss. I don't mind being the worker, as long as that's the decision that I made.
Yeah.
But
you know, it's weird because like marketing is a very important thing for people to know about your whatever it is, but you have to be subtle about it, because as soon as you make it feel like you're trying to get somebody to do something, people hate it.
Yeah.
Like even our Adventure Archives videos. We release a trailer that says the early release is right now, and then like in 2 weeks you can just wait for the public release. We had this guy, like every time we get backlash for that. And it's like, the videos are still free. Like that's the most frustrating part, is that they're still free after 2 weeks. But just the fact that we're trying to get people to sign up, or like get people to sign, we are trying to get people to sign up. Okay, I'm not even gonna like beat around the bush.
course.
Yeah, it's like money is how the world works. I can't get around that. If I could offer these videos for free and do them for free and still be able to eat and have a roof over my head, I'd absolutely do that. I do that with the vlog. Like I would do that. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
So but people, as soon as you try to get them to do something or suggest that they do something, if they don't want to do it, they will backlash so hard. And it's not like a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a minority.
But
But it still triggers a reaction.
yeah,
in you.
like one person, he said he was gonna unsubscribe because we were doing that. And I was like, the videos are still free. It's like, why are you unsubscribing? Like, you thought these were worthwhile to watch, but just the notion that we asked for donations turned him off so much that he didn't even want to like watch our videos anymore. And I think that's like the same mentality of like, you just don't want to be forced to do something.
Yeah.
Like even if you're not being forced, if
Yeah.
there's the suggestion that you are, it's like
Yeah,
very
it's-
repulsive to human beings.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I think it's right. Like, you are born, you spent 9 months inside your mother. As far as I know, everybody was born that way. Maybe there's some test tube babies out there that weren't. I don't know, but for the most part, you were inside another human being, and you came out. Babies don't know they're separate. As far as they're concerned, mom and I are one unit, and as they grow and they experience other things, they start learning that they're a separate individual in all ways, physically, mentally, socially. And I think as the older we get, the more we are going towards autonomy, but we are social beings. So no matter how far you get away, we're going to be connected. You're going to be connected with all other people. We have this, whatever it is, this force field thing, spirituality, whatever it is. But there's a fine balance, in my opinion, between you being an individual separate entity and being part of the big thing.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't know anybody who doesn't feel this way, except for people who are very needy. And even they, I think, after a while, want, like, get away from me.
Yeah.
But most of us kind of go in that cycle where we want to be with other people, and then we've experienced everything we can with each other for that moment, and then we're like, go home.
Yeah.
You know, leave me alone and let me marinate that. Let me think about it. Let me have some other experience or experience some other people, and then 2 weeks later you're happy to be around that person. I also think that's why sometimes marriages are rocky, because somehow we've got this fairy tale idea that you meet a person, then you love them and they love you, and that you can spend every moment of your life for the rest of your life together and be very happy. And that's just not true.
It's
I don't
not
know
true
anybody
for anybody.
It's not true for anybody.
It's not true for anybody, I feel like, because, man, it's like just anybody. If I spend too much time around you, I will find a way to dislike you.
or at least be annoyed with you.
You're just annoyed, like, and it's not. It's like I still. That's actually the more accurate one. So I'll be annoyed, but it's like, and it's not like I don't like you. It's just like, my God, I want you to be, because I start to become that person as well. And if that person doesn't have all the exact same priorities that I do, it's just like, that might be what it is actually. Is that like, for example, like you don't like cleaning things up.
I'm getting better.
Okay, yeah, you're getting better, but whatever. Just as an example.
I am not an organized person.
Right. If I spent too much time around you, then like, well, at the studio, like the desk at the studio just got messier and messier, and it's like it feels like a failing of my own when you spend a lot of time with somebody else.
Okay.
They feel like an extension of you, and then when that desk is constantly dirty, it's like, why can't I get this goddamn desk clean? And it's because you think that it's you who's doing that, but it's another person. And it's like when you spend a lot of time with somebody.
Well, and that's
just like how you start using the same lingo that other people use.
You start using the same facial expressions. You start, Like when I was a kid, when I was around certain friends, when I would come home, my parents could guess who I'd spent the day with by my facial expressions.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Especially if it was somebody I wasn't supposed to be hanging out with. They would know right away. Yeah. But I think that's a little bit of the narcissism that everybody has. The healthy narcissism is that you kind of feel like everybody's an extension of you. And to some extent, I believe they are. So when you learn something or you have a habit and they don't have it, but you're good friends with them or whatever, so you think that they feel exactly the same way. And when they don't, then you're like, how can you not feel that way?
Yeah.
It's similarly, you and I do, and lots of other people do, but not all of our friends. We spend a lot of time learning stuff about how the world works, how our bodies work, philosophies, stuff that some people never even considered learning about. We spend a lot of time doing that. So then when we learn some basic things from recent research or books or whatever that other people don't know, I know you've said this before, and I know I feel it and have said it before. It's like, I forget that everybody else hasn't already learned that. Like, how can people not know about food allergies? How can there still be a human being on the planet who doesn't know about it? But obviously, there are lots of reasons for not knowing about it. There are people who know about it and don't believe it. And I wonder how that can be. But I think that setting in your own mind a realistic expectation of what other people have in common with you. You can't think something and upload it.
Right.
Our ability to express and communicate is still really limited. So it's easy to get annoyed with someone, especially if you don't have an escape from it. Because then you're compelled to convince one another of all kinds of stupid stuff, just so you can stay in the same room and all the time. I'm pretty good at getting along with just about anybody. And I would say one of my closest relationships is with you. And we live together in the same house, kind of separately a little bit. Like, you don't ask my permission to go places. I don't ask your permission to go places. It's nothing like that. But when you go on your trips, I'm very happy. You don't bother.
No, it's true. Yeah,
you don't bother me at all. But I get the house all to myself. It's quiet.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
I enjoyed having Tianqin here, our foreign exchange student, but she's gone now. I'm never getting another foreign exchange student. And it was a wonderful experience. Nothing bad about it. But I won't do it again because I had no time in my house by myself.
Sure, yeah.
And no downtime. And I find that the older I get, the more downtime I need from people to, absorb the stuff I've learned, to think about things or to think about nothing.
Yeah.
And have no responsibility. I just want my own quiet time.
That kind of goes to another thing I've been thinking about, which is focus, and how it's really easy to get distracted, especially like with phones now. They're very distracting, and I feel like that's especially if you really are into media and you use your phone a lot, which I do, you get distracted very easily. And like it's been kind of like a conscious effort of mine to refocus onto one thing. So like if I'm playing a video game or watching a movie, I don't try to do something else. Like I really, like, especially like I've been getting into sound lately, and I've been like setting up all my speakers.
Sorry.
And there's so much in music that you miss if you're not really paying attention to it.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I want those experiences where I'm just like focusing on one thing and really cutting out all the other distractions so that I can really absorb just that thing. And it's like if there's always somebody walking around and doing something and asking you questions, it's always a distraction to what you're trying to focus on.
You know, and it's easy for the other person. I know I do it to you all the time. But like you'll be working and some thought occurs to me, and you do it to me too.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you're just coming out, you have some random thought
Yeah.
that you want to share with somebody.
No, I mean, it's like, it's
Which
usually good. Yeah,
it's usually good. It's usually wonderful. But it does break the train of hyper-focus that you might have right then.
Yeah.
And for a person like me, I've been diagnosed as ADD, and it surprises people when they hear that because I was an attorney. But one of my main talents that has helped me survive that without medication is that I can hyper-focus. I can get up in the morning and sit down at the computer to work on something and not get up until it's time to go to bed at night. I don't eat, I don't sleep, I go to the bathroom. I can do that. But that's to my detriment. I don't want to be that kind of person.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to do that. If I get stopped 10 times, I can't get my work done. I can't get it done. But there's got to be a middle time. But I want to go back to your comment about the things that you miss when you have so many distractions. I have found that I like to watch, if I have a TV program, I like to watch it, or a movie, numerous times in a short period of time. And then I'm done with it for a while. But it's because there's so much of it that I didn't get on the first time. Clearly because there were other things going on. The phone rang, I got a text, I got this or that. And even if I saw it, it didn't compute. And what was the movie that I watched not too long ago, or TV program? Oh, I watched The White Queen, which is about 1600s France or England, I can't remember which, whatever. But I got all the way to the end of it and something happened, and the conclusion of the series did not make any sense for me. I just had no idea what happened. So I had to watch it again. And it was like in the 5th or 6th episode, explained the end of the whole series. But that happens a lot. It happens a lot when you're communicating with an individual.
I check out from conversations.
Oh, all the time. I think you just
so
did.
Often. No, I was paying attention to this stuff.
Yeah.
But like, it's almost like criminal that I'm just like, I'm pretty sure I know what they're going to say. I'm checking out. Especially if it's like I'm not just having a conversation and I'm doing something else. Like, I'll just go back to that. Sorry, you were saying.
Oh, no, well, I think that kind of leads up to it, is that it's very hard for human beings not to see a butterfly and go off and do things. But you really do miss a lot of what's happening. That's why I think people like to be around are people who actually stay in the conversation and don't appear to be annoyed by having to stay in the conversation. They appear interested. But that's hard to do, because either you're thinking about something else or you're planning your next statement, which happens a lot. But you can feel that when somebody's doing it, or at least I can.
Well, it's a good thing when it's like the conversation, you feel like their response is directly related to what they just said,
Yes.
like what I just did just now.
Yeah.
Like, not to pat myself on the back.
Good job.
But it's like, that's real conversation. Like,
Yeah.
I've had conversations with people, like, even people who I think that I like really am close to and get along with, and then it's just like, you weren't listening to what I said at all. And even when they try to listen to what I say, they usually don't understand it. And they're just like, huh, okay. And then they just say whatever they were gonna say.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that. I watch people talk, and I tend to want to help the conversation because I'm listening to them like, are you guys actually talking to each other? Because from a third party perspective, you're not. Like, how can you not be understanding? Sometimes there's a conflict that clearly doesn't exist, but they're saying the same thing in two different ways, and they literally need an arbitrator in the middle to go, you guys are just going around the exact same point. I think you actually agree.
Well, it's really funny. For whatever reason, Andrew and Thomas were arguing about how water boils at high altitudes. And just the whole Mount Whitney trip, they kept arguing about this. And turns out Thomas was right. Andrew, I forced them to make a bet, and the bet is that the one who loses has to make a video for that episode admitting that the other person was right, which is going to be great. It's going to be so funny. But what I think is funny was how adamant they both were, and I'm like, one of them is wrong, and they're still adamant about it. It's like, for me, I'm only adamant about things. I try to only be adamant about things that I'm 100% sure on. One of those things was back in middle school. I was arguing with this kid, James Brown, who lived down the street. Not the singer, but his name was James Brown. I was arguing with him, and we were on the bus, and I was like, look, Killer Instinct Gold is not coming to the PlayStation. Rare is owned by Nintendo. That's a Nintendo second party. It's coming to the Nintendo 64. It will never be on a Sony console. Except for now it's on a Microsoft console because Microsoft bought Rare. But at the time, there was 0% chance of it happening. But he was so adamant that it was. And I was like, dude, where are you getting your information? Like, I know this to be fact. So I was like really willing to argue about it. What was my point?
That you only are adamant when you're sure you're right?
Yeah, so I was very adamant about that. But like for something like boiling water, here's why I'm not adamant. Is because there's been too many times where I've been adamant about things that I just realized that comes from adamantoise or adamantite, like that hard rock. That might be a fictional rock. Sorry.
I've never even heard of that rock.
Or maybe it's like a turtle. It's from Final Fantasy. Anyway, there's been too many times where I've been really sure about something, I've argued it, and I've been dead wrong.
Yeah.
So that's like my standing up and wiping my butt. So I used to stand up and wipe my butt. That's probably a good point to switch cameras anyway. So I try not to be too adamant about things.
Yeah, that goes back to the thing we've talked about before, is that the greatest obstacle to learning stuff is the stuff you already know.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. I think I have really tempered my being adamant in my life over the last 4 or 5 years because, well, first of all, information changes over time. We learn more, and that makes us have to reinterpret other stuff. But when I feel really adamant, I decided a few years ago that will be the moment when I realize that I'm being adamant and so sure I'm right to go, you could be right. Let's talk about it. Or let me back off a little because I'm tired of thinking I'm right and being wrong.
Yeah, that's not a fun feeling.
No, it is not.
And it's like, it's really hard for people to do. Like when you make a mistake, to just own up to it and be like, yeah, I made a mistake. Which it should be easier because it'd be better for everybody. But don't forget what I was going to say. This is important. Oh, yeah. That's kind of similar to how if you ask somebody to self-evaluate your ability on something, so like say piano playing, beginners will evaluate themselves as much better than they actually are, whereas experts will accurately evaluate where they're at or even under-evaluate. Because the more you learn about something, the more you learn how much goes into it and what it actually takes to be good at it. Because like anybody thinks like, I remember back in the day, like when I heard that there was people who were professional photographers, I was like, just point the camera and like take a picture. What's the big deal? Like how are people getting paid to do that? And you have to be so lucky. There is so much more. Like I don't consider myself a good photographer at all. Videographer, I'm okay. know what I'm doing. But photography is like such a different animal because it's one shot. It's like that's all you have to work with, and like you have to make it. You don't have to make it like perfect, but you have to get like the composition. You have to know what looks good, and you have to do it in the moment. Like sports photography, how the hell do they get it in focus? I have no idea.
Well, they got those camera lenses that are like 5,000 miles long and really big. I don't know.
But I mean, it's like there's a lot of it's the camera. The cameras are really good at focusing, but like especially before that, or like back when they used film and they had to do wedding photos, like you just had to know what the light in the room was, or like go in ahead of time and then.
Yeah, and you didn't get to use Photoshop and fix anything either. Yeah, and you had to wait like as recently as when you were a baby. If I took your picture, I had to send it somewhere to be developed.
Yeah. Although we've lost something there too because nobody. Yeah. Well, no, the iCloud, the photo streams have replaced that, and I think those are fantastic.
I do too.
So like now the photo streams of all of my nephews, your grandkids, they are all on the phone, and we just get an update when there's a new picture. They're always in that album. It's great. But before those, in the interstitial period where we lost photo albums, but we had digital photos, like nobody ever looked at their photos because they were just sitting on the computer completely unorganized. But the photo stream is great because you have a nice curated list that you can look at. You can look at again and again.
Yeah. This
is kind of off topic, but I just want to bring it up. My pro tip for vacation videos and vacation photos, just take a couple. Take a couple. Don't take that many. Like you can take more than a couple, but don't just take a picture of everything you see. Take a few of like some really good ones. That's all you need for pictures and stuff because you only look at the photos for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But it's enough to spark that memory of the experience.
And if you spend a lot of your time taking pictures, you don't have as much experience.
That's true, yeah.
Like
unless, yeah, go ahead.
I often find that when something happens, some special event, someplace, I don't take any pictures.
Yeah.
I've never been good at that. And that day or the day after, or when I'm telling somebody about it, I go, oh, I should have taken some pictures of that.
Yeah.
But I forgot about it, 3 months later.
Yeah.
But I still feel like I got every second I could out of the trip or the event. So for me, pictures are just not that important.
So this is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. Okay, so I don't know what this is called or what the philosophy of it is. It's kind of like enjoyment versus anticipation, that type of thing. But it's like new camera lenses, okay? You spend hours looking at lenses and just being so entertained, and then it's like, oh, which one am I gonna get? And then all this build up to actually getting the lens. And then once you get the lens, sometimes you don't even use it. It was the experience building up to it that was the most fun. But then other times it's you don't even care. You just get the lens and then you use the crap out of it. And so there's the side B and the side A, right? And I think a lot of times this section may be against traditionalism. A lot of times we're like, okay, you got to remember that the experience is the most important part, which would be the side B of actually using the lens. And say, don't worry about side A. That's just an end goal, or that's just like the fluff you have to get through to get to the actual experience. But I think they're both, sometimes this is more entertaining than that. And I think that's perfectly valid. Like looking up new gear, basically. That is absolute, or like reading about video games more than playing them. Like I love reading about the game industry and just following the news and stuff, and then anticipating a game, be like, oh yeah. Then when I finally get the game, I'm like, oh, this game's not that great. But that first part was so much fun that it almost negates the fact that the second part wasn't that fun. Ideally, you want both of those parts to be really fun, where you just like can't wait to get something, you're thinking about it, you're looking it up, and then you get it, and it's everything it was meant to be, and you do it all the time, blah, blah, blah. But I actually think that's perfectly okay when just one side of it is the fun part.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is okay. But I think that we have been so trained to think that everything has to be good and fun and entertaining. There is something to be said for finding a way to enjoy all bits of your life. Like, I think about the kitchen. Like, I really like it when it's cleaned up. I don't enjoy getting it that way very often. But sometimes I do. Like, if you're going on a trip and I've finally gotten it clean, so then I just don't use it until you get home, because when you walk in, you'll go, oh, you did a really good job on the house. There is something very satisfying to me about that. And even when I'm cleaning it up, knowing that you're coming back from some big trip the next day, and that you're going to have your crap laying around anyway, that the house is going to get messy really soon. When you walked in, it was straightened up, and that's fun. I would love it if I could figure out how to be excited or happy or at least contented doing all the mundane things in my life. I'm not at that point. I have to be a monk for that.
Well, I think it's process versus result. That's what.
There it is.
So sometimes the process is fantastic and the result is fantastic, but I think it's okay when there's plenty of areas of your life where the one aspect is really annoying. There's a timer going.
Oh, I have to do some squats, but that's okay. I'll wait till we're done.
Okay, I think we're almost done. Actually.
Well, I would like for you, I know that this is not the subject, but before we finish today, I'd like to talk about that game.
Oh, okay. So the game, I made a whole video about it.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, so you can just watch the video to find out about it. But what were your thoughts on it?
It's been a long time since I have thought anything negative about video games. When you were really little, I was worried you'd get addicted to them. But even when you were young, you and your brother, maybe because there weren't so many of them, but you'd play a game for a while, and then you wouldn't think about getting the Nintendo out for weeks. And then suddenly you'd want to be playing it again. Just a little background. I started really liking the idea of video games when Halo came out, and there was this cooperative ability. You just weren't shooting each other.
The Jeep.
Yeah, the Jeep.
The Jeep is the greatest cooperative vehicle ever made, because one person to drive it and one person to shoot, and neither one can do the other person's job.
Yeah.
So you have to have two people for that thing to be a functioning unit.
Yeah. And then the capture the flag, so your team was against another team. They were communicating, and with the internet and playing with people all over the world, that really, it didn't make me want to play video games, but it made me enjoy them through you and your brother and your cousins and everybody. And I think everybody knows that my philosophy of life is that we're really only here to help one another. And so this game of yours that you played this week has really struck, I want to tell my students about it. I can't wait till my 10:15 class tomorrow, because we always talk about weird stuff before class, and I'm going to talk about this game because the idea, I have learned through watching you guys how important it is for a gamer to save their data. Like giving somebody else your memory card is a big deal. And that even when you were younger and we'd go, okay, you got to stop playing now. You're like, okay, I need to get to a save point. You convinced me that meant something. So to watch this game where people gave up their data to come and help you win, and then afterwards, so I'm going to cry again every time I think about it, that you would give up all that work that you had done to help somebody else be able to win the game or to beat the game themselves. That's just, in my mind, exactly how human beings are supposed to be. Whatever your challenge is.
That actually ties it full circle, because it's voluntary. Nobody's forcing you to give up your data to do that. It's totally up to you whether you want to do it. But when you've had an experience where somebody else has helped you, maybe that's the big disconnect. Is so many of us don't want to be helpful because we haven't had the experience, the profound experience of somebody really helping us when we needed it. And so you play that game. If you've watched the video, you know what happens, and then you get help from all these people, and the choir comes in, and they're all surrounding you. You have all that firepower. You can just beat it with ease, and then you watch each person's life spark away when they get hit, and
they've just circled you, literally encircle you to protect you.
Yeah, you had that experience. You want to give that to somebody else. It's just like the end of the movie Scrooged. It's I want it all the time. just want to give. And it's like, yeah, it's the easiest thing in the world. Like deleting all of my save data, I didn't mind at all. Like I didn't even do everything you could in the game. I don't really have any desire to. But I can never go back to what I... There's a caveat because like my data got uploaded to the cloud, so I had a backup so I could actually make that video. But I deleted the backup because I was just like, man, that's such a great, cool idea.
Yeah. And I'm glad you did that. I don't know why it makes a difference, but to me it did. Just like you had told me the night before, and we watched somebody else's YouTube thing of it because you'd already done it.
Yeah.
So, plus earlier in the day you'd left something up on the screen, so I had been reading about it just while I was eating my lunch. I didn't have a clue what they were talking about, but I did read about, when you're shooting the developers' names and stuff, and it was supposed to be able, like you are creating hope and passing it on, basically. But when you played it again from your download yesterday before you deleted that, I bawled the whole time. I was just big tears coming down. I know it's just silly. But it seems to me it's finally bringing the world of your entertainment to things that are really important in the world.
Well, it's always been doing that, but
I just didn't know it.
It's just been doing it on the same level as movies have, for instance. Like I'm thinking about like Shadow of the Colossus, like the story that game told, or like Final Fantasy 15, the story that game told. It's just as profound as a movie. It's just like the bar of entry is a little higher because you have to actually know how to play it, and it's interactive. So in that sense, it's like even it's a slightly different experience because you feel like you're participating in that.
Yeah.
But just this game in particular leveraged the fact that games are interactive and they're connected from a network, and just like it even leveraged the fact that you spend so much time playing a game and what that means to you and how you have to sacrifice that. Like it's just unbelievable that the idea is so good it makes me want to make games and just copy that idea. Like that's how good it is. Like I want to do it myself. But I think just that game, it really like solidified, like there's always been, because I grew up with like it's not so much now. Like now people don't think this way. But as I was growing up, games were for kids. And like if you played games, they're like, oh, you're a nerd, blah, blah, blah. That's less and less and less, and it'll just continue to become less. Because it's like, when you think about it, it's kind of absurd that anybody would ever say that. It's like, well, why would you say a movie is not for kids? It's just because of what they present. So like when movies first came out, if they were only cartoons and kids' cartoons, you would say movies are for kids. But that's what games were at the beginning. They were just for kids. They were kids' toys and stuff. But I just feel like I made that video in part because I wanted to educate people that, like, I know that you might have that stereotype in your mind, but you can let go of it now because it's just not the case anymore. And it's not even like I feel like any defensiveness about it. Like, it doesn't matter if you think that. But it's like after that experience, I feel that's so important for people to know that now because you're missing out on these incredible experiences that like open up your mind to new possibilities. Like just now, I hadn't even thought about the fact that that is what it takes to make people helpful, is to give them that experience of being helped. They will want to give that to other people. If you just say to somebody, be helpful, what does that mean? It's like, why?
Yeah.
Like,
well, and it's
because when you are helpful to somebody and they're not grateful for it, it doesn't even feel good, right? But it can feel good.
I was gonna say, but I don't.
It can, but like lots of times people aren't grateful, and you're just like, why did I even bother helping you doing that? But it's weird because like that, it made you feel so grateful
that you didn't care,
that you wanted to help somebody else, and you wanted them to feel that. Like I don't see how anybody could play that and not want to delete their data. Like, I just couldn't imagine that. Maybe there would be people. I can imagine people being like, oh, I want to finish the rest of the game. Then I'm going to give other people that experience. But, like...
to just outright go, I'm not going to do it?
Yeah, just to say I'm not going to do it. I would, like, no. I can imagine that, too, actually. But I can also imagine them cheating on it to do that. Like, I'm going to back up my data, then I'm going to do it. But, I don't know. It's just...
Yeah, I think you will always have people that will do that. And in my experience is that Like, that was a very profound, pointed, so critical mass of help that you got. Like, unlike help that you've gotten all your life, which is a little here, a little there, a little behind the scenes, you don't know. So you didn't feel it so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm certain that you know that you haven't gotten from there to here without help from people.
Right.
You've had help all your life. But that's a way of...
Yeah, but they're all so small, and
this
effects
is
are
focused.
so... Yeah.
This is focused and big. It's profound was the word you used. And I think that that's when you have that kind of a profound gratefulness. Like, oh, I'm so pleased I get to bring up this movie. I just watched Mao's Last Dancer last night, and it's a true story about a young boy in China who gets selected by the Cultural Revolution artistic directors to become a ballet dancer. He had no dance talent, didn't even know what ballet was, just didn't even know why he was being selected. He just got selected. Became one of the best dancers in the world. Now he does TED Talks. He is the artistic director of Queensland Ballet Company in Australia. But he's able to distill like 3 points in his life that were major turning points, and the people that were there to help with those turning points each of those times, and is so grateful and so humble and really hopeful to give other people opportunities. But not everybody gets those profound things that happen in their lives, or if they do, they miss them. They don't understand that's what's happening. So I think there will always be people who won't see it, or even when they do, will think that there's some trick. There's some, one of the things he said is when he came to the United States and people were giving him gifts and they gave him flowers and hats and stuff at the airport, and he was like, what's the hidden agenda here? Because he'd been trained to think Westerners were horrible. It's difficult if you're not open to it. The thing that I liked about the game is that you couldn't hardly help. You could not feel that.
Yeah.
That you were being helped. I mean, like, you were literally surrounded.
Yeah.
Like, there was a circle of other machines fighting.
So amazing.
It really was. And I don't play video games. We've tried a couple of times. I'm not that great at it. Maybe someday. But to watch it and listen to that music and the struggle, how many times you had to die before they came to help you. I mean, all of that all together is really, it says how I'd like to think the world is. We'll let you try. The world's going to let you, try to be strong, but eventually you have to rely on other people.
Yeah.
And that's an okay thing to do. I really enjoyed that.
I think that's a good place to end, actually. Okay. Any final thoughts?
No. You?
No. No final thoughts. Okay. Thank you for watching.